Stir it up, big boy. Come on, here we go. Check.
Because we're here for the public good, right, Sharon? People, when we're out and about, people always say you guys are doing a kick butt job, and I appreciate that. I don't know if this is in the kitchen of Stephen Cookies or Hannah G's or Ventnor just last week adopted a 3-night minimum for short-term rentals. We don't think that's enough because most other short towns are going to a 7-night rental minimum from short-term rentals just to keep the chaos down. Let's take a look, Cher, at Ventnor last week as they voted for, it's not a 5-night minimum, but they backed off and made it a 3-night.
Ben Yellow, it's 1 North Nashville. You miss a meeting and you miss a lot. Apparently, they must have had a big showing of the Airbnb owners at the last meeting if they were able to twist your arm to lower the 5 nights down to 3 on the 3 bedrooms. I guess if you miss a meeting, you just miss a lot. So is that what happened, basically?
We amended the ordinance, yes.
Yes. Okay. So the outcry was bigger from them than from the residents that have to put up with it every night.
We amended an ordinance based on comments made by the public.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll have to have another look at this after the season's over and we see how bad it is. Thank you.
We moved here 11 years ago because we like the community. We love our neighbors. We do subs on a tub. We do block parties. We help build the pocket park. And then about 3 to 4 years ago, the block started changing in ways we never predicted until 3 out of 10 houses were Airbnbs. The most egregious of which is a massive house approved by you for 9 bedrooms, 18 plus people, 9 individual baths, not 1 per bedroom. In the spring, when my kids came to visit, they couldn't find parking. 7 cars parked, so they had to park all the way to the end or on another street, plus 3 in the driveway. On Saturday night, half the cars in the on Marion were pickup trucks. I don't mind pickups, nothing against them, with 23, mostly young men, aged 25 to 35, drinking beer. Not violent, not even overly loud. That's not a community. The next weekend, the same thing happened, and my neighbor at 103 also counted 23 people, not a party. They were staying there, and they were not one large extended family. I go online. I'm sorry if it's 3 minutes. I look up Airbnb's
Okay.
Ventnor Avenue. The first one that pops up has a name like a hotel. It's called The Marion. Good for 9 bedrooms, 9 private baths. I think it said 16 or 18 plus people. That's not an Airbnb. That's a hotel. The owners come, to my knowledge, 1 week a year. I'm not going to mention their names. They never told us what they planned when they extensively renovated the house.
Wow. 9 bedrooms, 9 private baths. I'd like to throw this out here. These are miniature motel districts popping up. If you don't have limits on how many properties a STR, a short-term rental entrepreneur, can acquire, he's going to turn your beach blocks into a motel zone. It's happening in Brigantine right now. They've been working on this for 5 years. Mayor Vince Serra can't get his act together. It's a mess there. At least Ventnor adopted a 3-night minimum rental. They backed away from 5 nights. They should have a 7-night, but let me tell you, it kills. I'll say it again. Paul, once again, this episode is called what? Stirring the pot. We believe, and I'm going to show you some proof, that the more short-term rentals take over a shore community, it literally will start to kill the community year-round. It'll hurt local business. It'll hurt local business because they only can survive 3 months out of the year. And I'm going to show you some proof of that.
It's interesting you say that because in Brigantine there are several condo developments that they have their own rules and regulations, and they require a minimum of a 7-night stay for rentals. So condos have their own guidelines on that.
Oh.
I have several friends that own in condo developments that rent, and it has to be a 7-night minimum rental.
Actually, that's very generous. Most of the condos here, they have a
30, right?
3 month.
Yeah.
They just want summer people. They don't want the turnover. Yeah, so that's very, very generous.
The city ordinance is not sufficient, so they have their own unique 7-night minimum because they know it's really important to protect that that property from chaos.
Sure is.
I believe that there's just so much money in LLCs buying up properties with 3% interest rates, and they know they can make a ton of money just 15 weekends out of the year. Short-term rentals can actually kill a community. And this is a clip where you'll actually see one of the Brigantine councilmen, Paul Lettieri, going crazy because he's on the same block as an out-of-control short-term rental. And still, he can't even get it restricted in Brigantine. Let's watch this quick clip.
And I warn my wife, our neighbors, that something bad is going to happen if it doesn't get handled sooner rather than later. And here we are, gunfire and 2 people shot in the middle of our street.
First of all, I don't want to have to sell this place. It is paradise. We love Brigantine, we love it. I really don't want to get shot during my sleep.
And I'm fed up, okay? I'm one of their neighbors. I live on the street. They stand behind my car and piss on the street, piss on my pavement.
Over the summer.
That was actually a Brigantine councilman getting freaked out. That just tells you that even he can't get sanity when it comes to short-term rentals in Brigantine. I believe there's a lot of people that invested a lot of money. And I guarantee you that's exactly why Ventnor was so hot with short-term rentals. And that is why Brigantine's super hot. They're turning into party towns because they're the last 2 towns in this area that I know of that have unrestricted rentals. 1 night, 1 hour only. Short-term rentals can kill a community. You can't afford to live in your own town.
And this is a big problem. Airbnb takes thousands of units off the long-term real estate market, creating an artificial supply shortage, causing prices to skyrocket. The constant noise and annoyance by drunk tourists make areas unlivable for long-term tenants who end up moving out. The landlord is then stuck with an empty apartment, paradoxically located in a less desirable yet extremely expensive area. As less people want to live there, but the mortgage has to be paid, the landlord opts for short-term rental, the unfortunate logical solution. Out-of-control short-term renting initiates a vicious cycle in cities. More Airbnbs mean less long-term tenants and more tourists. This causes more noise and annoyance, which means even less long-term tenants, which then causes businesses based on long-term tenants like grocery stores, hairdressers, laundromats, etc. to close down. Those get replaced by souvenir shops and tourist traps, which turns the area into an urban desert for long-term tenants, which means even less of them and even more of Airbnb guests. The friendly, casual, small-scale world of short-term rentals almost immediately became a cold, calculating, large-scale industry, and a very profitable one at that, to the point where landlords can make more money by turning their rental apartment into a purely short-term operation, instead of letting it out to people who actually want to live there. By the way, B&B stands for bed and breakfast, a type of accommodation where you share the property with the owners during your stay, meaning you get a room inside someone else's place and breakfast in the morning. But that's not efficient enough. As a result, 76% of Prague's short-term rentals are full apartments with nobody living in them long-term, where regular people can no longer afford to live even near the center. For people who actually live in Prague, it's an urban dead zone thanks to short-term rentals. So what's the solution? Easy. Limit or ban short-term rentals. In Amsterdam, you can only let your apartment out to tourists for 30 days per year, while Barcelona practically banned the practice in the center. The result? Living, healthy city centers with actual inhabitants in them. Thousands of locals are out in remote sleeping areas, unable to afford living in their own city. Airbnb is a prime example of why we need to regulate things. Without regulation, all these cutesy, personal, peer-to-peer hipster projects risk becoming soulless, industrial-scale capitalistic endeavors with untold damage to cities and communities. And if you personally own and operate an Airbnb, please consider letting it out to long-term tenants instead. Thank you.
The short-term rental entrepreneurs are trying to claim, no, you need more short-term rentals because it fills our restaurants. We got people that say, no, that's not really the case. It kills small business, local business in the off-season, those 9 months. And if I can go to January, a couple of months back, January of 2023, Ventnor's Mayor Beth Holtzman, she stepped down. She announced she had to step down from her mayoral role here in Ventnor after 7 years. She stepped down early before her term was over. Holtzman, Miss Mayor Holtzman, put her home on the market as part of her divorce. This is in the papers. This is not me digging into personal. She wanted this to be in every single newspaper. And it's really interesting that more and more people are not talking about it. Mayor Holtzman put her home on the market as part of her divorce settlement, which will make her no longer a resident of the hometown. I love that city, Beth said. I was raised there. The housing market mixed with Ventnor's popularity made it impossible to find a place in the city, Mayor Holtzman said. She decided to make clear why she was stepping down out of respect for the residents. To have your mayor have to leave before the term is up because you can't find a place to live, that just tells you short-term rentals have gotten out of control. And as we remember in that clip a few moments ago, Airbnb really got started as a, hey, I'll rent out a room from my house. I'll give you a mattress. I'll give you a couch. But it turned into an app on your phone that you can easily rent something inside one of these quote unquote motel zones in these Jersey Shore towns that are losing their community. Paul, I think I made a lot of friends today, but I think realtors would agree with me that there's less transaction of buying and selling because they're getting sucked up by entrepreneurs converting these family homes into motel businesses.
Well, and then you also have the price of, the pandemic came. And then you had the whole increase in price from that. So it's a combination of things. The average price of the home, as we went through so many times, is way up. And then you have this going on with Airbnbs and not next to you. So yeah, it's a combination of things. It is changing. Our shore market has changed. The demographics have changed. The look of and feel of the community has changed.